Hey you guys, welcome back to Rebuilding in Recovery. If you are a returning subscriber, I appreciate you. If you are new here, hello, my name is Tracy. I am a psychotherapist in long-term recovery, and my goal here is to help you break the cycles of addiction and generational trauma and create an amazing life. This video is a little different. This is not a scripted or a researched video at all. So I just wanted to hop on here and share with you guys that this is the month of my 9 years clean. 9 freaking years. That is crazy to me. So I was just reflecting on what got me clean 9 years ago, and I just felt like I needed to share it. I hope that you guys will subscribe and check below the video for other ways to hang out with me, including Patreon, my recovery support services, and Instagram. So my last day that I ever did heroin was December 23rd, 2013. So my first clean day is technically December 24th, Christmas Eve, but I don't like to celebrate it on Christmas Eve because I don't want to take away from the holiday, so I always celebrate it on December 23rd. So December 23rd, 2013, I was staying in a cellar. I was staying in a cellar of one of my boyfriend at the time, one of his friends' cellars. I was staying in a cellar because I was on the run from felony arrest warrants and I didn't want to go home. Now, when I say cellar, I mean a legit cellar. I mean concrete floors. I mean not an actual door. I mean camel crickets everywhere. Those are the ickiest bugs I have ever. They are so fast, they jump. You don't want to live with a bunch of them in your house, let me tell you. Rough times. I was the worst that I had ever been in my heroin addiction. The day that I got arrested, I had gone to Cincinnati 3 different times to get dope that day. So my addiction had quite literally taken over my life all day, every day. My veins were blown out. I could not even hardly hit them anymore. My family despised me at that point because I hurt people and I stole from people and I was just a bad person at the time. It was really, really bad. And I had tried to get clean. I had tried many times to get clean. I'd been to inpatient, I've been to outpatient, I've done MAT, I've done counseling, I've done detox, I had done all the things and nothing worked. So I had very much accepted at that point that I was gonna die an addict. I knew that I would either end up going to jail for a long time or die of an overdose, and I was okay with that. In fact, I kind of hoped that it would just hurry up and happen because I was really miserable. I hated who I had become. I hated my life. I hated everything about using, but I couldn't stop. I was physically and mentally dependent, and I could not stop. You know, maybe some people could get clean, but that's just not in the cards for me. I just can't. So on that day, like I said, I had been to get dope 3 different times, and then I went back home to my mom's house. I went back home because it was Christmas Eve the next day, and I wanted to spend it with my family, and I was just kind of tired of being in the cellar, right? So I go back home, and I did my last shot of heroin in my mama's bathroom. Sorry, Mom. And as I got ready to lay down for bed that night, I heard a knock on the door. And I knew immediately who it was. If you have ever had a cop show up at your house, you know what that knock sounds like. It is very specific. I don't know why they do that. People know at that point to run or hide, but I was not sneaky enough. So they came in and they got me and they took me to my county jail. And I spent 2 days in the drunk tank there before I was given a year-long prison sentence in the Indiana Department of Corrections. After I served my time in prison, I was court mandated on another charge to complete a program at a halfway house, which was another 4 months. And while I was in this halfway house, I ended up meeting up with one of my exes. I know. And I became pregnant for the first time. And at first I was horrified. Number one, because I never wanted kids. And number two, because I am living in a freaking halfway house, how am I gonna support this child? I remember comparing my pregnancy to having a tick stuck on me. I felt like I had this parasite connected to me, and it felt weird and bad, and I was so unhappy about it. And my whole family totally expected me to fail. They all thought that they were going to have to raise this baby, and I was just gonna take off and jump ship on it. But something happened, and a few months into my pregnancy, my perspective began to change, and I began to bond with my baby. And I knew that I had to provide a stable life for him. I had to make sure that he grew up not going down this road that I did. I couldn't just leave him with somebody else. I couldn't just choose to not take care of him. I had to give him a stable life. So that is when I made a promise to my unborn baby while they're in that halfway house that he would never see that side of me. He would never see me in addiction. And I have kept that promise now for 8 years. I know that it's not supposed to be this way, but my son 100% saved my life. And over the next 8 years, I worked really, really hard to build a life for us. And I worked my way through waitressing at a truck stop and crappy apartments and crappy cars that wouldn't start. And now I live with my son as well as 2 other sons in the house that I own. This is actually the second house that I have bought. I got my master's degree. I work as a therapist. We travel, and I'm genuinely happy for the first time ever in my life. Looking back on this 9 years is pretty incredible to me. I know a lot of people say like, oh, what, you want a medal for doing something that everybody else does anyway? I kind of do, because I made a drastic change in my life. I overcame something that I never thought that I would be able to overcome. I mean, I didn't even know if I could stay clean, let alone actually be successful. I definitely didn't see that coming. So if you're in active addiction, if you are struggling, I just hope that you know that this does not have to be the end of your story like you think it does. I know that it feels that way right now, but you don't know what your future has coming for you. You don't know. I'll list below this video a link to addiction and mental health resources if you are struggling. But thanks for letting me share, and I will see you next week.